Thank you very much for that introduction, and thank you very much for an entertaining person and vibrant. First of all, thank you for taking the time to be here and to listen to our story and to understand what we're trying to do. It's much appreciated, and I appreciate you're very busy, so thank you. I guess you've also had a fairly busy time over the last couple of weeks with the summit and the Trump family being here. What I'd like to do is try to explain the story behind FoodAdvisr and how we came to develop this piece of technology, because it becomes very relevant as a story to explain what we're doing, but also to explain why we see India as a very, very key market for us, a great opportunity for us, but also the opportunity to make a difference. And to do this, I just need to speak a little bit about my business partner. So the founders of the company are myself and a guy called Scott Verney. And Scott and I have been friends since 1987, where we both joined the Royal Navy together at the Dartmouth Naval College. I spent 3 years in the Navy, having a great time, but decided I wanted to come into business and make some money. And my business partner, Scott, stayed in the Navy, and he had 22 very successful years and was the captain of 2 warships, HMS Edinburgh and HMS Exeter. That doesn't seem directly a link to our business, apart from the fact we've been lifelong friends. When Scott left the Royal Navy, he was poached, because of his leadership abilities, he was poached by the Waitrose group. I know you may or may not have heard of Waitrose. Waitrose are a globally recognized, very, very high quality retail brand. And Scott was promoted very quickly through that organization. Ultimately, he was running all of the London stores for Waitrose. And that's about 4,000 or 5,000 staff and many, many stores. It's a huge responsibility. And while Scott was doing this, I was sitting in the IT marketplace. I've worked for organizations like Oracle and Sun Microsystems, you may remember Sun, various services businesses, and then managing director and senior director of various companies, including one called Capillary Technologies. You may know Capillary, based down in Bangalore, one of your own companies. The reason that we started working together was because Scott and I, and that specific concern was as he was doing his job, walking up and down through his stores, checking how they were functioning, he was continually coming across the situation where more and more people were asking for very specific advice about the content of the food they're eating. So in the Western economies, food labeling guidelines are quite tight, and we've got some issues with regards to health associated with obesity, type 2 diabetes, and increasing costs to the government of food-related and food-driven health problems. And the issue we had in Waitrose was that all of these queries were being dealt with by his staff. It's very expensive, it's very slow, and very frustrating for the customer. And he'd asked within the organization, can we not just read these barcodes? The data's all there. We know what the calories are. We know what the protein is. We know what the ingredients are. We know what the allergens are. It's all on the label. Why can't we automate it? And they couldn't for a variety of reasons. And that's when he talked to me, and I said, well, yeah, that's very doable. Of course we could build that. The data is available. What we need to do is to be able to create a platform where an individual can set their personal requirements for allergies, and allergies are things that make you instantly ill, intolerances, which is a much bigger problem, actually, on a global scale, where intolerances make you feel unwell over a long period of time. A lot of dietary complaints are related to intolerances, but also other things like food you like and food you dislike, was to create a platform for consumers that allowed the consumer to put in their requirements and match it to the data that was available about food, originally in barcodes. So we built that, and we launched it back in July this year, and the instantaneous feedback that we got was, we love the application, but actually, can you tell me some advice about restaurants that I could eat in as well, and dishes that, when I'm in a restaurant, that are safe for me? We said, well, we think we can. How big a problem is this? This is where we started doing a lot more research, and what we realized was that actually the issues are of near epidemic proportions on a global basis. This is from the International Monetary Fund and the World Health Organization, who are addressing diabetes and obesity as being 2 of the major conditions that will affect over 20% of the global population by 2025. It's already having profound impact in this country, but also in every country. And a lot of it is to do with the increased number of middle class, so it's economically driven, but also to do with how we produce food. But the issue is quite straightforward. For the user, for the individual, for the consumer, how do they know what is safe for them to eat and what isn't? So we've been developing that platform with a team over here. And so we are very, very excited because the platform is now ready to release. And what the platform does, it allows the user to put in their allergies, to put in their food intolerances, to put in their food dislike, also to put in their food like, as well as any specific lifestyle choices that they have. For example, vegan or vegetarian, or a number of other diet-related stuff. They can put all of this, so their real profile, for what they want to eat. And then we match that against meal inspirations. So we give them eating ideas, as well as matching against restaurants that may be able to meet their requirements. So we're looking at restaurants and building databases full of the dishes that support that, as well as still being able to scan the barcodes of food. So this is a huge undertaking. And what it's going to create is an enormous amount of data and insight for those that need to analyze data. It's going to create a completely trustworthy and reliable platform for the user. But for businesses, it's going to give them access to markets they currently can't get to. And to put that into context, people with intolerances are about 20% of the population. It's about similar to the diabetes issues. So people with food intolerance are about 20% of the global population, not just one country. Most people who have intolerances, the biggest challenge they have is actually when they eat out, is knowing what's inside that food. And the figures are 92% of people with food intolerances state that that's their big issue. Now, from a business perspective, if you were running a restaurant or a group of restaurants or a hotel or cafe or a delivery service, that's an enormous market that you could access that you don't access right now. So whilst organizations are spending lots and lots of money advertising, trying to access that one or two new customers, there's a huge market that they go after, and we enable that. So we bring huge value to the user, and we bring huge value to the business. I've now gone to the next part of our journey, which is our relationship with Hello Curry. I'm really lucky that I worked with the Capillary Technologies a few years ago and made some contacts. And ultimately, those contacts led me to Raju. And Raju and I sat down, I talked about this vision. And he talked about his vision with Hello Curry, which, as you know, is similar things, which is about bringing convenience to the user. It's about making it very, very easy to order online. It's about being able to deliver high quality foods to the user instantly by the business model that he has, which you know about.
Wanted to really be very innovative, and I think the time is perfect. So especially, you know that Indian market is so very crowded. Hello Curry started perhaps from the delivery space. We are one among, if it is convenient, I'll just wake up, I'll get up and then talk to you. Okay, that's better. We are perhaps, okay, so I think.